What is going on, guys? I thank each and every one of you for joining me, and today I'm going to be showing you a rigging method unlike anything else that's currently available on the market, and I'm willing to bet that 99% of you guys out there already have every component needed to make plenty of these rigs. And know that thumbnail and title were not clickbait. It will literally only cost you pennies, and I'm guaranteeing you that there's nothing else on the market that you can buy that will make your soft plastics do what this rig will do. Now, before we get into the how-to and the DIY part, I'm going to show you guys some underwater footage just to see what you're getting yourselves into. Now guys, is it me or is that action absolutely insane? And have you guys ever come across a store-bought rig that will impart that kind of action at that retrieve speed in both a steady retrieve and, more importantly, on the free fall? If you have, let me know. I want to buy it, I want to test it, I want to see what it does. But I've never, in my 30 years of on-the-water experience, come across any store-bought rig that imparts an action anywhere close to that with any of my soft plastics. And at the end of the video, I'll show you more different varieties of swim baits and paddle tails with that kind of rigging method to show you what it looks like with them as well. Now, if you guys are interested in how to make this rig, hit that like button. Stay tuned. We're going to go over every tool, every component, and everything you need step by step on how to make this rig. Now, starting off, the single most important part of this rig, pocket change. That's why it's called the pocket change rig. Next up, you're going to need a length of fishing line. Give yourself about 12 inches to work with. I prefer to use fire line. You can use pretty much any other kind of fishing line that you want. Experiment with it. It's easy to make. I'm going with fire line. And lastly, you need a worm hook. You don't necessarily need one of these owners with the CPS springs. If you fish Z-Mans, you can use your standard worm hook. No biggie. And if you're just nose hooking, you can use pretty much any hook you want. It doesn't have to be a bass-specific worm hook. It could be a wacky hook. It could be an octopus hook. It doesn't matter. Hooks don't matter with this rig. The most important thing is that penny and that swinging line. Now, in addition to that, you're going to need a drill bit, and a pair of pliers. It's as simple as that, guys. And if you don't have a drill and a drill bit, you can get away with using a hammer and a nail, because all you need to do is punch a hole in a penny. It's as stupidly simple as that. There's no science to it. The weight of the penny is enough to get the bait down. With the line and the knots connecting the rig, the penny's always going to want to fall, but the resistance of the retrieve is going to push the penny back. And since the penny isn't cupped and it doesn't have really anything about it that's going to have it tracked to one side permanently, it's always going to be moving around. And that center of gravity is always going to be changing, which is going to change the position of the nose of the worm, constantly making it move and trying to correct itself. That's why it gives it that crazy wiggle. Now, what I will say is, you don't want to really do this with a spinnerbait blade. So if you get one of those Indiana blades, or if you have a shot spinnerbait and you have a collection of, spinnerbait blades, they don't work nearly as well, because they're lighter and they're going to tuck right up. You're not going to get that action. Now, for this tutorial, I'm not going to tell you to take this 1/8 inch drill bit and drill a hole through your penny. We're going to pretend that we found this penny on the ground with a hole already in it, because it's illegal to deface currency. And the legalese and legal jargon isn't very clear whether or not you can do this and just keep it on your own and not recirculate it into the population and use it as currency again. I'm not going to get into that. I don't want to go to jail. So, we're going to pretend our pennies magically had holes already in them. And if they have holes in them, and they have little burrs on the edge, you want to take a tool or a piece of metal or a screwdriver, kind of rotate it around in there, remove that burr, because you don't want a sharp edge when you attach the line to your penny. All right, now that you have a magical penny that somehow got a hole in it, not because I told you to drill a hole in it and violate federal law, we're going to take our 12 inches of fishing line. In this instance, I'm using 14-pound test fire line. And you're going to fold it over like so. So give yourself a little loop like that. And you're going to take the 2 tag ends, line them up, and run them through the hook eye like so. What you're going to do now is tie sort of a cat's paw. So you're going to take that loop and run those tag ends through like that. You're not going to cinch it down yet. Once you got those tags through the loop, you're going to take each individual tag and go once and twice with that left side tag, and then you're going to go once and then twice with the right side tag. Once you got that set, then you can grab these 2 tags here, making sure that they're as even as possible, and then kind of pull it down tight. And that's what you're going to be left with. That's important because it's going to allow it to retain a little bit of rigidity down in here, and it's going to allow it to kind of swivel, and see how it kind of just goes like that? Kind of like it's actually a split ring type connection. It's at this point now we're going to take these 2 standing legs and we're going to tie an overhand knot. Again, we're not going to cinch it down, just like that. And you can see from the hook eye here to the overhand knot is about 1 inch. Okay? You're going to take your 2 tags, run them through the hole in the penny that magically appeared. That tackle advisors did not tell you to make a hole in the penny with a drill bit or a nail. And you're going to make sure that these 2 legs are close together because we're going to run them back up through that overhand knot that we created. It's at this point you can kind of grab your hook and grab your tags and kind of pull that area tight. And what you're going to do now, again, that loop got a little bit bigger. We want to kind of close it up a little bit, so we're going to take these 2 tags and pull it down tight, just like so. Now it's up to you how you want to finish this off. You're pretty much at the final step. You can take these 2 tags and almost tie like a uni. That's how I prefer to do it. I'm just going to go through that loop twice, basically a 2-turn double uni. Come on. I missed the 1 leg, so I got to go back and recapture it. I'm going to work that down because I want to, again, keep that loop as close as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect. And it's at this point I can now trim these 2 tags and I'm done. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you tie the Tackle Advisors pocket change rig. And I'm telling you guys, this rig slays in cold water, in the spring, in the rivers in the summertime, and slow current if you want to bottom bounce this rig and use the penny as a weight. It gives it kind of a different sound as it ticks off the rocks and the gravel, or as you kind of drag or crawl, or like a net bait packet chunk on the bottom with this. As it's crawling, that little tink, 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 tink is different than a lead or tungsten weight. It gets bit, guys. I'm telling you, I'm not making this up. I've been fishing it now for 2 years, and it's kind of a spin-off on a rig that I call the Scooby-Doo rig that I've been fishing for more than half a decade. So try this rig out, and do me a favor. I'm new to the whole social media game. If you start catching fish on it, post it up on Instagram and Twitter, I think, and make it a hashtag Tackle Advisors pocket change rig. Is that too long? I don't know, just hashtag a tackle advisors or a hashtag pocket change rig. So give me some credit for this. This is a sick rig. You can Ned rig with this. All you gotta do is put that, we'll just pretend we clip this in half, and you're fishing a Ned rig that's now gonna go buck wild in the water. Now I will say, this rig is not a high speed rig. You need to fish it somewhat slowly, otherwise that penny's going to come up to the hook shank and it's not going to give that wild action. If you fish it too fast or in too fast of current, it's going to kind of want to roll. Usually it doesn't, but you do want to make sure that when you're fishing it, you're paying attention to your retrieve speed. If you want to go a little bit deeper, if your nickel somehow gets a hole in it, I ain't going to tell anybody. It's a little bit heavier than a penny. It's going to get it down a little bit deeper and you can retrieve a little bit faster. So with all that being said, I have some more underwater footage showing you some soft plastic paddle tails. And again, this method works with tons of stuff. These little Lunker City grubsters works great. If you want to put it ahead of a jackal clone fry, works all right with them too. These fancy Japanese fish arrow something or other, so it works great with these. Got some underwater footage of that. The new Berkeley Max Scent baits works amazingly well with them. Works great with your Rains bub shakes. And I forgot what these things are called. They're fancy. They're something. Works great with them too. I even fished it the other day with one of my subscriber contributions from Scott. He sent me some of these Keytech finesse worms. Works spectacularly with that. Anything you can think of that is fairly finesse oriented will work. If you're a striped bass fisherman and you're fishing a cinder worm hatch, instead of calling it a night and going out golfing in the morning, try something like this on a small finesse worm. I'm willing to bet that it'll have an action that's attractive enough to get bit. Whether or not those stripers are going to change their mind and you're going to luck into a bite when there's a billion cinder worms around, that's on you. But I'll tell you what, it's worth a shot. All right, so stick around for some more underwater footage. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe. Check out some of the other fishing hacks that I have linked in the description below. One of which I fully believe is better than one of the hacks a very prominent bass professional has shown. And I hope you enjoy this. Let me know it down below in the comment section your thoughts. Take care and enjoy the underwater footage.